and gentlemen, very rarely does feminism become a debate in the political narrative. And this time, again, it almost made it before it was lost in a narrative battle yet again. From Kangana versus Kriti Sanon, neckline versus culture, to Rahul's smash the patriarchy with a Manusmriti spin, to Kangana versus Rahul with a dash of Bharat Mata Ki Jai. This isn't just a political sinkhole. It's divided the women of this country politically and from a prism of religion. Exactly what defeats women and gender rights. What are we talking about? Rahul Gandhi backed Kriti Sanon. What a woman wears, what she does, where she goes is a choice. Stop trolling women for exercising their freedom. Smash the patriarchy, his slogan during Chhatron Ki Goonj in Pune. Kangana Ranaut took on Rahul Gandhi, reposting a BJP Insta post, taking pot shots at Rahul and the Congress over smash the patriarchy slogans, but raising Congress's stand over women's reservation bill, Shah Banu, triple talaq. Of course, the post started with Bharat Mata Ki Jai. This is after the Jiva Raksha Bandhan advertisement featuring Kriti and a dog. Kangana hit out at the advertisement for disrespecting Indian culture and attempting to hijack sanctity of Raksha Bandhan with a neckline and a pet dog. Kriti Sanon stuck her neck out, saying, culture isn't decided by necklines, and a pet is family as well. Asking, when will people stop telling women what to wear? The advertisement has been withdrawn. Is feminism the latest casualty in Indian politics? I'm being joined by Dr. Charuvali Khanna, women's rights lawyer, former member of the NCW. Dr. Ranjana Kumari, author and social activist, joins me. Rashmi Samant joins me. She's an author. Smita Mishra, senior journalist, also joins me. Thank you very much, all four of you, for joining me. Dr. Charuvali Khanna, let's just get each of you to spell out your positions. A simple question that I'm asking, is feminism the latest casualty in Indian politics? Or is feminism at the heart of the debate that's happening right now? Dr. Charuvali Khanna, how do you look at this?
I think feminism is at the heart of the debate. It's not a casualty. And I'm very happy that the issue is being discussed. What is feminism? Feminism is a social movement and a political theory. And that is what is being discussed about smashing patriarchy. It's another matter that, slogans are not enough. You need to show that you're doing something. And it's nothing new in politics. India has a 150-year history of feminism. We've had three waves in the late 19th century, 20th century with Savitribai Phule, Jyotiba Bai Phule, Raja Raman Rai, education of girl child, abolition of child marriage, abolition of sati. Then you had the next wave in 1947. In the constitution drafting, there were 12 to 13 women. Mahatma Gandhi brought women on the roads. In 1974 onwards, there was the Equality Report, which was, I would say, a catalyst to the formation of the National Commission for Women. But now, because lots of young women are coming into public life and they are vocal, the numbers are so large. So they are becoming a political bait. Every political party wants to, kind of capture their votes. And they're using slogans. I think better than slogans, show me what have you done to smash patriarchy. Show me what have you done to help them get out of the cage. We know they're in a cage. We're all in a cage. We have tried. There are some women who have broken the glass ceiling, who have achieved things. But what about the ordinary girl who, in that talk, she said that how difficult it was in school. Okay. It's always the parents also who are blaming her, the problem in the workplace. What are you doing? I want the political parties to answer and not to come out with slogans. And yes, my neckline does not define my culture. It is my thoughts, my actions, my karma.
Rashmi Samant, where do you see yourself in this debate?
Well, firstly, I think I agree with the former panelist on a lot of points. Flashy slogans like smash the patriarchy are not enough. What did the Congress do during the Shah Banu case? They literally overturned a pro-woman judgment of the Supreme Court just to protect a vote bank. Of course, India has had its struggles with how it's treated its women. It's treated women exceptionally well up until the 8th century, after which it's just gone downhill. But we are now sort of trying to redeem as society, also being one of the countries which gave universal suffrage at the same time to both men and women. But I think we need to do better. And as women, I think it's our responsibility to also call out politicians when they try to use this sentiment of women empowerment just to, score a few brownie points, which I think politicians on either sides are doing. This is not a partisan issue, but like across all parties. Because let's face it, if you look at the markets, women are some of the most loyal customers. So any company, if they want to be successful, they try to cater to the women because they show that kind of loyalty. Even when it comes to a vote bank, women are considered to be one of the most loyal vote banks that way. So I think we shouldn't let either side of politicians take our rights for a ride with some sort of pretense or slogans that don't go beyond that, and we need to hold them accountable for what kind of
Okay.
Nari Shakti and what kind of changes in society they can promise us. We are in the 21st century, and Indian women are, leading the frontier, breaking the glass ceiling from everywhere in ISRO to
Okay.
the Commonwealth Games. But I think we need to do better as political class and not reduce this debate to a neckline or slogans like "Smash the Patriarchy."
It's interesting that you choose to talk about the slogan "Smash the Patriarchy," but you do mention that this is not about partisan politics. Dr. Ranjana Kumari and Smita Mishra, my question to both of you: Jiva backed off, Rahul Gandhi backed Kriti Sanon. BJP has come back strong after the Manusmriti reference, asking what about the earlier positions of Congress? Shah Banu case, triple talaq case, women's reservation bill. Is this the, how do you look as women who've seen politics shape in front of you? Are you saying great time for politics to happen like this, a debate and a discussion that needs to happen? Or are you saying this is dividing women and losing the mark? How are you looking at it? Dr. Anjana.
Okay, so I think so far in politics, women have been treated merely beneficiaries or a vote bank. So basically, what political parties want is women's vote, but in return, they don't want to really deliver anything except for these small, so-called largesse which they give at the time of election. For example, Delhi 2,500 rupees, then also in Bihar 10,000 rupees. I mean, this is so. I think what they fail to understand actually what feminism is all about. Feminism is neither anti-men, neither anti-family. Actually, it challenges unequal power and seeks dignity. Let me emphasize the words dignity, autonomy, safety, and equal opportunity for everyone. The real test is not whether political leaders use feminist language, but whether women gain equal representation. That has been the challenge, and I think for women reservation bill for almost over 3 decades. I think Charu is here; she will know my and our collective struggle for getting women into the parliament. It didn't happen. Whether you see, nobody can really claim that they have given. Maybe they have passed the bill. Even earlier, the bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha. Even now, it has been passed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And look at the way the games have been played by the political party. That you delimitation will happen, then some extra seats will be given to women, or when census will happen extra. So still, you are considering women at the margin of it. Now, let me talk about the smashing the patriarchy. I think it's important that from academic debates to activists like us who have been always emphasized the whole idea of equality, empowerment, and also agency to women. Now it has gone from those debates of activists and academics, it's gone to the politicians, and it's a welcome change. It is a welcome change because at least they are understanding what patriarchy is. Now, let me, before you move to another person, I think I just want to talk about Manusmriti a little bit.
We'll come to you. We'll come to you. There's a
No,
whole
wait,
round.
wait, just
Okay.
1 minute. Give
Sure.
me 1 minute. You have invited me to talk. Let me just give me
Sure.
1 minute to talk about Manusmriti, because Manusmriti and the kind of culture and social, society developed around it, those ideas, those values that women have to be subordinated by either father or husband or son all her life. Even today women are suffering because of that. So nobody in the country should dare say that Manusmriti did not have any impact on the society, or one of the verses of Manusmriti. No, it constructed the values, the system, the socialization pattern of Indian society for women. It
Okay.
has been in the back of the mind of all these people, whether it is policymakers, whether it is people who are sitting in the panchayats, whether you are sitting men sitting in the home. These are the values which we are fighting for over and almost like 500 I think it's 50, 60 years now that we are fighting for that. And as even earlier, some men who came forward and really fought against sati and the Dahej Pratha and all that. But don't
Okay.
take it non-seriously. Manu Smriti is responsible, let me say it with some responsibility, for creating the culture of subordination for women in this country.
Smita Mishra, go ahead. Make your point. Interesting that I'm coming to you right after Dr. Ranjana Kumari, because she has made her stand on Manusmriti very clear. That's also something you speak a lot about during these debates as well. We had a discussion on this last time as well. Go ahead, Smita Mishra. Where do you position yourself?
No, up till now, I don't think there was that is being discussed in the past days has anything to do with feminism. Whether it started by Mr. Rahul Gandhi or anybody else, I don't think feminism is in their minds, or feminism is the topic of the conversation they are involved. Rahul Gandhi was very clearly addressing a certain vote bank.
Ms. Smita Mishra, I think we'll have to fix your audio. There seems to be an audio issue. I wish this was not happening. Give us a few seconds, give us a minute before we come back to you. Let me just come to you, Charuvali Khan, Ms. Charuvali Khanna. In fact, when we talk about this entire discourse, one thing that's come to the fore is how Congress has not been able to prove its stand. BJP has lashed out. You have it's a dichotomy of sorts. You have Rahul Gandhi at the event of Chhatro Ki Goonj, and you have young women walking up to him. You have young women hugging him. There are pecks in the cheeks that are passed. All of this is happening on one side, and then you have another hard reality: questions around Shah Bano that's been asked, triple talaq that's been asked, and women's reservation that's been asked. I think this is a healthy, good debate to have, and for political parties to come clean on this. But how do you look at this?
I think it's very good. In fact, I think it's very healthy that political parties are debating over it. At least they are forced to take a stand. And due to this, there's an awareness being created amongst the masses, amongst the youngsters, that who is the party, who is with us, whose viewpoint is in harmony with what we think, how we want to live our life. And one thing I find objectionable is, I don't think we should bring, everything is contextual. We should not bring scriptures in the middle. Manusmriti had a context. Society was stratified in a different way at that point of time. Even the scriptures say that God's only, unka vas wahi hai, where women are respected. And this, when Jyotiba Phule had to stand up for his wife, he was supporting her and arguing for her, he also quoted this. So let's not bring scriptures into it, because every scripture, every era has its context. But today's woman wants to know what the party is going to do for me, for my rights, and not talk about my clothes, the length of my skirt, or my jeans, because even her parents have done that. No parent, girls come to us, gender-based violence, even rape. The parents say कि तुमने कुछ गलत किया होगा, तुमने कहा होगा, you must have smiled. And in sexual harassment cases, the parents say you must have used lipstick. That is the kind of thinking our society has, and that the youngsters want to smash. That's what they say, smash. Who is going to do it? The government is going to implement the laws in the true spirit. India has sufficient laws. We don't need more laws. We have the best laws in the world. But there's a lacking in implementation.
No, I
And
think
that is what the youngsters are demanding, and that is the need of the hour. And whichever party shows that they have a true intent to implement the laws for women, for their safety, for their equality, for everyone, even third gender. Third gender should also be everybody, each human being should be given respect,
Okay.
whether woman or other.
You know, it's important that you mentioned about this Manusmriti angle. Dr. Ranjana Kumari, let me get you in. You know, Charuvali Khanna, what she has said resonates with many people. Many people who heard what Rahul Gandhi said in Pune did not object to what he said till he chose to speak only about Manusmriti. And that's where my question is. Sure, when you're talking to young women, as young as that, I don't think many of those women would have read or know about Manusmriti. Not many. Theoretically, in textbooks, they must have been passing references to it. And then there is the other side of it. Many people saying, why only Manusmriti? Why bring in only that? India is not about only Manusmriti. And therefore, then Congress gets cornered into its own cocoon of what is already being criticized of, and that's minority appeasement.
You see, if women who were part of that crowd did not know Manusmriti, but they are living the life defined by Manusmriti. What you must eat,
Why
what you must
only
wear.
Manusmriti? You know, that's the question that people are raising.
Let me, because
Sure.
let me
Sure.
come to that. Give me one more minute, okay?
Go ahead,
Then
go
I
ahead.
will respond to your question. So I think they may not, but they're living the life. You know, they must they must go to study, whether they go out or not, whether they get who they must marry. Everything is decided for them, majority of them. There is intersectionality. I think I'm not talking about some section of women who have, now achieved some level of, decision making possibility. So that's one thing. Now, let me tell you, I wrote a book which was published, and there was a lot of criticism. I was questioned, and
I'm
that is
aware.
female, 1 minute, female sexuality and bodily functions in all religious traditions. And my emphasis was on Hindu religious tradition. Every religion in some way or there's a male game. Religion, I'm not, faith is different. Please dissociate faith from religion. You may believe in something, you may believe in supernatural power, you may believe in nature, you may believe in some kind of a, god, whatever, but the organized religion is all under the control of men. They define, they decide, they control all the resources of the temples and mosques and churches and everything. It's all game of men, and nowadays it has become big resources. So I'm not talking scriptures. Yes, they may be having some kind of a better sense. I have read through them, I have analyzed them, and I have written them how they tried to control women's sex and sexuality, how women were put under the control of men, because women will become too loose, they will be too much under out of control. Look at what one of the responsible member of parliament for just wearing a dress, another woman, look at how it has been internalized by women also, that just actress who herself may have worn the same clothes is criticizing another actress who's wearing the kind of clothes that she wants to wear, or maybe she was asked to wear, or whatever it must have been. So why women's body, her sex and sexuality becomes such a threat to society? Because this is how it has been perceived by across the board religions,
Okay.
across the board. So I'm not really talking about, but in this context, because a lot of women who were in the crowd, and a lot of women in India come from women's, from the majority in India are from one particular religion. So I think Manusmriti has done the damage. It has the, and nobody has the courage to get up. Do you know, a very responsible person from the UP chief minister, of course, let me say that, he also said that, oh, without women, there is no, without men, there is no existence of women. Can you believe that? The
Okay.
person who doesn't have a woman
Okay.
around him says that without men, a woman doesn't have. No, I have nothing against any of the politicians. I'm not in
No,
politics.
I
don't
completely
belong to any
get. I
political
completely
party.
get. In fact,
But on
Smita
the
Mishra has been
feminist
very
question,
patient. We lost her line. Let me get her in. Smita Mishra, you've heard what Dr. Ranjana Kumari has said. Would you agree with her? Would you agree with her? Why I'm asking you this question? It's very interesting how how Dr. Ranjana Kumari has associated the pointing out of the neckline, Kangana's pointing out of the neckline with Manusmriti. Would you agree? Because there are a whole lot of concerns, and she says majority of the women there would be, from the majority religion, and therefore references to Manusmriti was okay. But as I asked earlier, both Kangana has taken a position of convenience for what she stands for and what she believes her politics is about, and is Rahul Gandhi playing to what his party politics is? Because the critics are saying, what about the other religious texts?
So what is the question?
The question
is what Rahul Gandhi, you are well aware of what the thoughts are. Mr. Rahul Gandhi knows very little of any religion and nothing about Hindu spirituality. What I am going to conclude in all the past 10 to 15 years, all the thoughts which they are saying, and that's one. But this is about Kangana. Kangana is no hyperbole. Kangana is no react in a manner. I am not mature and a full woman who, react to things. Kangana is outspoken. She has a way of reacting things. And if it comes to this advertisement that you are referring to, let me tell you, it's quite clear that debate is going on. The company which funded had the brand of which the advertisement was itself doesn't seem to agree to what may be the reason, if it is thoughts on which it doesn't take, or where it is consumer concerns, business concerns, whatever it is, company is itself drawn the advertisement, which means reactions of the people are getting acted. Now come to this, this whole gamut of issues about feminism. I'm very Sneha. I would be happiest if feminism came, leading top of political discourse in the country, because we've been observing decades. We have talked about women's reservation, we have talked about schemes for women, but not feminism per se. Feminism per se has never become a topic of political discourse. It certain things governments done for women, and now this was reservation, which I have myself seen falling in house several times and getting passed but not yet implemented. So that is about giving power to women. But I don't think the issues that we discussed for the past few days, whether it was following the throat or this and Rakshabandhan advertisement that came up, none of this relates to feminism. First of all, I don't think that advertisement had anything to do with feminism. People went hurt because of a certain depiction of a festival and they react to it. The company had the freedom to ignore it, but they chose to draw the advertisement. That's in their risk. But that is about feminism. What Chris Annan has articulated is also not about feminism. Which we have seen the same lady, Chris Annan, have a diametrically opposite position when it came to the festival of a different faith. So therefore, I see this entire debate as an extreme dishonest and very, very superficial kind of debate, which we were talking about, as one of our panelists said, give agency to our women, making them politically aware, politically able to get their issues done. Yes, a lot of has been achieved. I have gone to the interiormost parts of the country and I have found that women in panchayats, let me tell you, not elderly, they are young women also. Very young women chose not to go to cities for careers and joined their panchayats as elected representatives. All stories read about Mundapati, Panchpati, Panchayati. It's old. You go to the panchayats now, women are becoming smarter than their men counterparts. They are handling work in the village, in the municipal body. So I wish we talked a little more about them. We talked a little about the fact that a lot of young women's aspirations, they get disappointed because they are not financially sound, go to cities, find them path in life. It's very for a actress to talk about feminism. Of that young girl who wants to become a success lawyer, but she is in a village and her knowledge is very far from her. So she has to find ways to, how to get aspirations fulfilled. I wish we were talking about these things. We were talking more about feminism as giving voice to our women in a way. Having said, I do believe, and I'm not following any searches, surveys, or studies. It's purely from my personal first observation that yes, things have changed this country. It is just at a pace I'm not happy about. I wish it was a fast pace. We are in 2026. We should be doing better. But I am serious, Neha. It was Rahul Gandhi's the patriarchy. As I said, it was hollow slogan. Congress party should be the last one to talk about patriarchy, seeing they have done. So whether it's Rahul Gandhi smashed patriarchy, whether it is sold quotes about advertising, or other issues keep
Right.
cropping up, I really don't think it's a dip on feminism. We are just on the periphery, talking about slogans, where it's a very superficial.
Okay.
We really have to come to the crux of matter at all.
Okay, Rashmi Samant, your last response.
Well, I genuinely believe that education is the way to go. I see that educated women know their rights and will not sit for politicians who just come up with flashy slogans or, texts out of context. So education is the way to go. I come from a small town myself. I come from Udupi, and today I'm able to come so far because I was educated and I'm financially independent. I feel that as society, we need to make our daughters, our sisters, our mothers, and our wives, make sure they have education, they're aware
Right.
that they're financially independent, and that will, in fact, speed up this entire process of, smashing patriarchy from just slogans to actually being reality where,
Right.
both men and women in Indian society have equal rights, and that we can grow away from, debates over things that's not going to change anything. I mean, Rahul Gandhi is just going to come make all of these statements and then he's going to vote against the women's reservation bill. So that's not going to fix anything. What we need to do is move away from the optics on either sides, and that will only happen when women really know their rights. And that sort of education is what I'm pushing for, not the, Grahalakshmi scheme in Karnataka or its equivalent in the other states. I think that's doing a disservice to all the women. What will do us a service is education and financial independence.
Well, thank you very much, all of you. Dr. Charuvali Khanna, Dr. Ranjana Kumari, Rashmi Sawant, and Smita Mishra. Thank you very much. A very well entrenched discussion with women who have achieved a lot in their lives. Thank you so much.